The film begins in 1950 Tokyo. James Wright, a battle-hardened man with a mysterious past, arrives unannounced and demands to meet the master. He confronts the master, demanding to know the whereabouts of the man whose photograph hangs on the wall. The master explains that the man in the picture is his father, and then asks James how he knew him. James says that he met the master's father in Bataan during the war. The master says that his father mentioned a Westerner who was skilled in martial arts. However, because James insulted him and the dojo, he now has to pay the penalty. He then tells his students to attack James. However, James expertly neutralizes and defeats each student. The master eventually orders them to stop fighting.
Where is he? That man in that photos. I spent time with your father in Bataan.
My father spoke of you, a great fighter. You bring trouble and dishonor. I'll give you trouble. What is it you've come here for?
He then asks James if he has only come for violence. The master sees a darkness only war creates. To understand this broken man, we return to where James Wright died, Bataan, 1942. The Japanese are fighting to capture South Asia's final strongholds. A dogfight begins. Fighter jets battle to the death in the skies. After several evasive maneuvers, James's plane is eventually hit. James ejects seconds before the jet crashes. He lands in the enemy area, which is dark and surrounded by woods. He manages to drag his co-pilot out of the river, but when he arrives at the shore, he discovers that his co-pilot has died. He buries him in a shallow grave. In the morning, the Japanese soldiers search the woods and discover the grave. They then begin searching for James. James attacks them, stabbing 2 soldiers before being surrounded. The captain then forces him to kneel and points a revolver at his head, but something in James's glare prevents him from shooting him. Instead, he tells the soldiers to arrest him. They arrest James, and he's dragged to a grim POW camp, where inhumane conditions await. Starvation, disease, torture, and death are the daily realities for the prisoners held there. Lieutenant Colonel Ito approaches him when he arrives at the camp. He asks if he is the only survivor, but James doesn't answer. Ito orders his men to take him to the woods and execute him. When the soldier attempts to behead him, James outmaneuvers him, steals his dagger, and kills him. He then retreats into the woods. There, he accidentally steps on a booby trap and is caught in the net. He is arrested and returned to the camp. However, he has not given up hope because during his brief stay in the woods, he discovered an abandoned glider, which he believes will be his ticket out of the POW camp. Captain Endo takes James directly to Ito's office. Ito questions Endo as to why the prisoner is still alive. Endo informs Ito that the prisoner has not only escaped, but also killed several Japanese soldiers. Ito tells James that the person he just killed was like a brother to him. James extends his condolences. Ito then tells James that while he has won today, he will die tomorrow.
James Wright, Corporal Hirano, was like a brother to me.
His condolences.
Tomorrow, you die.
Meanwhile, James meets a prisoner who calls himself Beard. He then introduces James to the other American and Filipino inmates. They ask him about his rank and how he ended up in the camp. James tells them that he is a wing commander and briefly updates them on the details. The soldiers then ask him if the British are planning a rescue. James explains that they aren't. James then informs the soldiers that he has killed 3 of Ito's men and will be executed tomorrow. He then asks them if there is any way out of the camp. The soldiers tell him that escaping is simple, but there is nothing out there except woods, so those who flee usually return. The fittest of them are put to manual labor. The rest are sent on a death march 60 miles away to another camp that may or may not exist. The following morning, James and 3 other prisoners are assigned to fight a proficient Japanese martial artist. The man kills the other 3 with his bare hands in seconds before finally confronting James. However, James kicks him down before knocking him out with a single punch.
Fight to the death!
Ito, embarrassed, storms back into his office. The other prisoners celebrate James's victory with drinks. James is pulled from the celebration. Ito informs him that he will kill him tomorrow. The following day, James is ordered to fight. On his way to the pit, the Allied soldiers cheer him on. James is forced to fight 3 men at once, but he wins again. Back in the camp, James tells the soldiers that he's had enough of this nonsense and that they should escape. He then suggests that they steal a radio and attempt to contact Allied forces nearby. The captain says they can make the call, but no one will come. However, other soldiers agree with James's plan.
James, do you like a drink?
Let's get this done.
Ito's head must be spinning right now.
Why didn't you finish him off?
They don't want to die any more than we do.
Okay. Because in about a week, they're gonna march us to another camp.
We need a radio.
The next day, the soldiers create a distraction. While the guards are busy breaking up the fight, James climbs into the tower and steals the radio. The nurse notices him as he tries to sneak away with the radio, the sole female prisoner in the camp. However, the nurse remains quiet, and James successfully conceals the radio. The next day, Ito announces that some prisoners have been in areas they weren't allowed to be. 2 Filipinos are executed. Later that night, James leaves his boots in the bed and escapes into the woods with the radio to make contact. He climbs up the hill and sees a ship parked near the shore. The next morning, James tells the other prisoners that he heard Navajo on the radio last night, and there is a glider in the woods, which they should use. Other prisoners, however, believe the glider idea is unrealistic. The guards overhear James and lead him to Ito's tent. Ito questions James about Navajo, but he says nothing, which enrages Ito. Ito informs his men that the Americans and British are planning an attack on the camp. James is bound between 2 poles and beaten bloody with sticks. After being untied, James manages to get hold of the sticks and defeats his captors. Ito is furious over James's victory and executes 3 men.
Fight on this. It will happen.
James is sent to camp to have his wounds bandaged. There, he meets the nurse, Teresa. They talk briefly, and Teresa reveals that she, too, is a prisoner. Ito visits James in the tent of the wounded prisoners. A flare appears in the sky as they talk. James informs Ito that the flare indicates that the British are nearby. Ito warns James that if the British invade the camp, he will kill all of the Allied prisoners. James returns to the barracks once he has healed. In the barracks, one of the soldiers reads a letter from General Douglas MacArthur. The letter informs Japanese soldiers that an attack is imminent. However, James advises them to flee before the rescuers arrive, as Ito may execute them all. Later that night, James and another inmate try to escape. While they are out there, they are spotted by a young Japanese guard. However, James spares his life. James and others manage to return to the barracks before the guards inspect their beds. When the guards count the prisoners, everyone is in their beds. The next morning, Ito announces that several prisoners escaped their barracks and killed a guard the night before. Before Ito can finish, James takes responsibility for the murder. Ito informs James that the captain was caught in the act. Ito then orders James to kill one of the prisoners using his forbidden technique, but James refuses. Ito warns that if he does not kill the prisoner, they will kill the captain. They then shoot the prisoner right in front of James. Meanwhile, the captain fights valiantly, killing several men who attack him. James had had enough and challenges Ito to a fight. Ito refuses, and his men throw James out of the office. James informs the men that they must make contact on the radio tonight. They decide to mix Navajo and other languages to send a message and confuse their captors. That night, they flee the camp and climb the hill in the woods again. They send a message over the radio and immediately receive a response. When they return to the barracks, James and his friend are rendered unconscious. When they regain consciousness, they discover that they are tied back to back. Teresa and Anna find and untie them. They inform them that Ito is killing everyone. As four of them return to find the radio, they arrive at the camp during a full-fledged battle. They make it to the barracks and discover that the radio has been destroyed. They then plan to steal another radio from the guard tower. Meanwhile, Allied planes begin bombing the camp. Anna and Teresa kill the tower guard, allowing James to steal the radio. POW prisoners stage a full-fledged uprising, killing all of the Japanese guards. Ito is confronted by James inside his office. Ito offers him a sword, and the two fight. James is about to finish Ito when his friend drags him away. As they flee, Ito's second-in-command attempts to shoot James, but Ito intervenes and allows them to escape. James and his friends set up the flares that lead the Allied planes to the camp. James and the other prisoners board the glider as the Allied aircraft targets the Japanese soldiers closing in on them. The Allied plane finally lifts the glider and they flee.
We are airborne.
Back in 1950, at the Ito dojo, the master confronts James for a final fight. After a fierce exchange of moves and strikes, James defeats him decisively. Before leaving, James requests that the master demonstrate the forbidden fighting move his father had spoken about, the very technique that made him legendary. The film ends with James's legacy complete, from captured soldier to escape artist to living legend. Prisoner of War is more than an action film. It's a visceral exploration of human resilience, the cost of survival, and the thin line between honor and desperation. Scott Adkins delivers a career-defining performance, combining raw physicality with emotional depth. The film's fight choreography is second to none. Brutal, realistic, and devastating. Every punch tells a story. Every combat sequence serves the narrative of a man pushed to his absolute limits and fighting not just for survival, but for his humanity. Would you maintain your humanity in a camp designed to destroy it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps on the best action and drama films. Until next time, have an amazing day.